is up, everybody? Give me just a second here. I need to do something. 1 second. Add theme, dupe, call it Anubis, image. Got to put an image up for you here. All right, that's the one I need. Do pound 000 quadruple F. Font. Poopadoo. Doop doop off on create theme. All right, that picture right there. So that picture that you're looking at, hopefully that you're seeing here. All right, now the picture that you're seeing, probably the same picture we were seeing just a second ago. So this is a hieroglyph, and yes, I'm talking about something a little different this evening. Rather than talking all about cannabis, I also study religion, and specifically because early on in my life, I began following alternative spiritualities. I very much so enjoy studying Christianity because the more I know about other religions, the more I defend my own. So, point here. This hieroglyph is quite literally what you see in the Bible in the telling of weighing of the heart. So you'll know in the Bible you have, I'll bring the picture back up a few times here, turn the camera on now. In the Bible you have the statement or the quote, whatever it is, the phrase, your heart has been weighed in a balance, you have been found wanting. Right? And it's in connotation to Judgment Day, to God judging everybody after the revelation, after all of that stuff, all of the end of times. Supposedly everybody will be lined up. I remember this specifically because my grandma used to beat it into my head that all my sins one day would be revealed in front of all my friends and family, and I would have to stand there in front of God while all of my friends and family saw all of the wrongdoings I did in my life. Yeah, my grandma and papa, hardcore independent Baptist. So anyways, you have weighing of the heart and you've been found wanting, right? Now, I'm going to take many different Christian statements, sayings, and correlate them back to Egyptian hieroglyph. Now, you can say correlation is not causation, it's not that, but it's very hard to deny given the fact that Jesus was raised in his childhood in Egypt, that the cult which was born out of his living, his being, it would make sense that that would align with the religious undertones, if you will, of his formative years, where he spent his formative years, Egypt. So, if you look at the hieroglyph, I'll turn it back on here and show you. This hieroglyph, you have Anubis sitting, and right across from Anubis, that's his daughter. She looks all mean and evil and stuff, but she really just brings water to the souls of the dead. Above, you see all the souls lined up, waiting to be judged, right? All of the souls of the dead lined up above. Now, to the right, on the very right side of everything, over here, on the right side of stuff, you see Osiris sitting on his throne, right? Osiris equates essentially to God. God and Osiris. God, Osiris, Horus, Jesus. And you want a really odd connotation that might be wordplay, might be a play on letters. The letter J wasn't added into the English language until the 1800s, right? So prior to J-E-S-U-S, it's spelled I-E-S-U-S. Isis would be the pronunciation. Isis. Isis. Horus. I is right beside H. I-E-S-U-S. H-O-R-U-S. If you look at those letters, they're literally one letter away from each other, each letter, except for the J, which was added in the 1800s. So there's that, but specifically back to the hieroglyph, you have Osiris sitting on the throne, right? Osiris, the father, Horus, the son. Osiris dying is Horus rising. When Seth slew Osiris, Isis gathered his body parts, all except for his penis. Anubis helped to fashion a penis, and because he didn't have a penis, technically, what does that make it? Because Isis was a bird or whatever in the mythology, having sex with the god king, however, he didn't have a penis. So what is that? That's a virgin birth. He doesn't have a penis. It was a magical offspring, okay? A Horus was brought on magically. He was a virgin birth, just like Jesus. Now, specifically, I like this hieroglyph because it literally details the exact thing that the Bible says. Your heart has been weighed and you have been found wanting. Anubis is weighing the heart on the scales of life against what the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, Kemetic, Kemets knew as Ma'at, M-A'-At, which was essentially the code by which to live, the code, and it was everything in old Egyptian mythology is, I like to compare the cross, very straight, rigid, phallic in nature, to Egypt, the Ankh, not phallic in nature, the womb, androgyny, both the womb and the phallic nature, which led to a lot of issue because Christianity is essentially a death cult, and when you had Egypt moving into Christianity, you had a lot of the priests thereof who weren't on board with the death cult of Christianity, which has a lot to do with the Council of Nicaea, and that's way off board. Anyway, I like talking about Constantine. His name, the first pharaoh, the first white pharaoh in Egypt was Ptolemy Christus Soter. Ptolemy Christus Soter, if you believe so, Euchristus, upon his coronation, upon his, you're going to accept me, the white king, as pharaoh, he supposedly had people consume his blood. Euchristus, Eucharist. Anyways, so you have Osiris sitting on the throne. Now, if you look to the right hand of Osiris, what do you see? Bring it back up real quick. Look to the right hand of Osiris. In the Bible, it tells you that the souls that pass on in heaven, something about the right hand of God. I don't remember exactly, but I remember that in the Bible. Now, what does the Bible also tell you? And I'm not Christian, so please don't think that I'm Christian trying to push biblical prophecy here. I'm showing you the connection between the Bible and ancient Egyptian belief, okay? Jesus says the only way to the Father is through the Son, right? Take a look at the hieroglyph again. First, understand that the hieroglyph has to be read exactly as it is, okay? You read it. The Egyptians looked at these hieroglyphs like a game, like real life. Like we do a video game, and you'll go to Egypt and you'll see hieroglyphs where the Apophis and different demons and things like that are marked out on the wall. It's because they were trying to literally kill them. It wasn't the way we see it. So with that in mind, the only way to the Father is through the Son, okay? After your heart is weighed in the balance against Ma'at, you get written down in the book of life by Thoth, and then you see the soul in between Thoth and Horus. And where is Horus guiding the soul? Guiding the soul to the Father, Osiris. That is an exact, you cannot tell me that there's not a connection between what is written in the Bible and that hieroglyph. There absolutely is. And as I said, the fact that Jesus was raised in his formative years in Egypt, why would it not make sense that the cult that followed his teachings resembled his formative upbringing, what he experienced in his formative years. Right? We know that's what that's what makes you who you are, essentially. That's a big part of who you are, is your formative years. Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, all the souls lined up above. As I said, my grandmother and Beth would always tell me that all of your friends and family will be watching you and watch all of your sins. They'll see all of the things you did wrong in life and blah, 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 and all of that shit. You can see the souls above Anubis waiting to have their hearts weighed in the balance. And yeah, it's very, very clear. And then, yes, you have Isis, who can't really correlate. The Bible did a lot of fucking Xing out of a lot of things too. Like there was actually a goddess in the Old Testament. A lot of people confuse it with the whore in the cave. I don't remember the exact stories. I just remember a whore in a cave, and there was specifically a goddess that was part of the ancient Hebrew pantheon. And I'm sure I'm not enunciating all that right, speaking a little bit improperly, but like a lot of people don't know, for example, that Yahweh is a god of war. Yahweh was one of many entities recognized by ancient Hebrews, and Yahweh is who the Christians took on to worship as the God. There's a reason why he's so destructive throughout the Bible and destroys the fucking earth and tells his people to take on the children and have the women and the fucking insane things that get said. Because he's the god of war, Yahweh. Anyways, I thought it was interesting stuff. I think it's interesting. I also needed to have. And I'm always talking about cannabis. I honestly had a YouTube channel prior to when I started doing cannabis, and that's what I talked about all the time, was spirituality and religion. If you're interested in it, it's still up. It's Ancient Knowledge, Spiritual Wisdom. There's only a couple videos up on there. You have to forgive the cringe because they are quite old. And I did one where I shared a prayer that I do every morning, that I've done every morning for a very long time. There's a prayer on there. Discussion. That was a really good video I did on a discussion about 666, the relationship between 666, Saturn, which you have to watch the video if you're interested. The relationship between 666, Saturn, time, humans being bound by time, this being another. I'm all over the place here, but this is interesting too. If you look back at Greek mythology, Kronos was slain, and from the ashes of Kronos, supposedly we came from the ashes of Kronos, right? And we're bound by Saturn, bound by time. Well, scientists have seen now that the rings of Saturn reach out and encompass the Earth. We just can't see them. There's rings that we can't see with our visible spectrum that encompass the Earth. So Saturn isn't just like out there affecting us. Like Saturn actually affects. So, and it's quite interesting. At the top of Saturn, you have, first of all, 6 letters, Saturn, 6. At the top, you have the hexagon. A storm at the top has a perfect hexagon somehow, a perfect geometrical hexagon with a storm that's been dying down over the past couple decades. But it's a huge storm, and it swirls around the center of this hexagon. Now, what's weird is if you take a hexagon and you make it 3-dimensional, you get a cube. You cube it, right? You cube. Now, the cube, the black cube in Mecca, that storm swirling around inside the hexagon is very much looks like what do they call it? When they pilgrimage to the black in Mecca and they all walk around it, and it just gets like kind of faster, sort of, and it just looks like a spiral going around. Yes. What else was there? There's something also about the black box and correlation to Saturn and name. Anyways, though, the interesting bits is 666 is carbon. 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, right? That's carbon. What is carbon? Carbon is man. That's what we are made of. We are mostly carbon. I just think it's very interesting. Saturn controls time. We are bound by time. We die. We're bound by time. 666 is Saturn's number. The 6-sided hexagon on top of Saturn. 6 letters in the name. Saturday, related to Saturn. The 6th day of the week. Quite interesting. Anyway, there's a lot more in the video. If you check out the video, I get like really fucking in depth with it, and in a way that can actually be understood, unlike how I just tried to convey it verbally. I cleaned up my dab station earlier today. It was too chaotic. I had too much shit all over the place. Put it this way, I'm so fucking OCD or ADHD, whichever one you want to call it. I will sit here in my room if I don't have anything to do, like at my dab station, and I'll just organize shit. Like you'll see me moving something like my bong will be here, and I'll move it here, just because I like the way it looks better. It's more symmetrical that way. And nobody sees it. Nobody comes in here. I see it, and like if I put it on camera, the camera sees it. But yeah. ADHD like a motherfucker. Let's see, what else about Egyptian? Oh, yes, this is a good one as well. If you want to think about, all right, everybody talks, Christians, about Jesus walking on water, right? Well, take a look at the sun setting over the ocean or a lake sometime. And look at a standard picture of Jesus walking on water. And I'm not a Christian hater, I'm long past that. I don't hate Christians. I hate Christians that hate me, but other than that, they don't really bother me. But Jesus walking on water is quite literally the sun cast onto the water. Jesus said, right? Many different things, but for example, talking about the pineal gland, right? Jacob laid his head upon the stone of scone, seen angels descending and descending, and at the top he saw a bright light. Another quote, another phrase from the Bible. The stone of scone correlates to your sacrum, the lower part of your back. If you would lay your head this way on the lower part of your back, like this, and you're looking up your spine, your vertebrae look exactly like angels descending and descending the stairway to heaven. Heaven being the pineal gland, which science has shown. Remember, the Son, Jesus says, I am with you, I am the Son of God. And yes, I'm making a play on words here, son and son, because he's directly correlated there to Horus, the sun god. Follow me. The pineal gland has been shown by some scientists, hasn't been shown, hypothesized, theorized, well supported, that it is bioluminescent in the darkness of the brain. Quite literally, the light in the darkness, the inner sun. Jesus is within you. Look within, you will find me. If you look back to the Hermetica and take into account that God is mind and Word is the Son of God, then it starts getting really fucking deep. I like is it Corpus Hermeticum or Hermeticum Corpus? Anyway, if you're interested in the Egyptian stuff and all of that correlated to Christianity, check out the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermeticum Corpus. The book by Hermes Trismegistus, which was actually Thoth, who got turned into Hermes Trismegistus whenever the Greeks tricked the Egyptians and sacked them by not even doing anything, just didn't help them, and then they got to take over. And then Ptolemy Christus Soter takes over, and we get Christianity soon thereafter. Of course, Romans and blah, blah, blah leads up to that, yeah. Anyway. I studied Christianity and the history and like the Council of Nicaea and how things led from fucking what it was in ancient Egypt to how it became like a monotheistic one God religion. Because like I said, even back in Hebrew, there was multiple, even though they may consider it one entity or one being, there were numerous words for that being. Yahweh, Allah, not Allah. Well, that's another one. But Agala is another Hebrew word, Agala. It is a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is a fairly standard ritual for not witches, but for people who practice a little bit more advanced magic than witchcraft. Most of the people know it, and the sacred names of God, the Christian names of God, are uttered throughout the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Agala, Adonai, Aheye, did I say Agala? I think. Yod Hevevhe. It's been a minute since I performed that one. Shows what a good ceremonial magician I am, right? People who are really, really, really into it perform that ritual sometimes twice, 3 times a day. And it's not a short ritual. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is very involved. Like the motions that you make with your hands, the posture, your feet, it all has connotation. See, witchcraft is considered more like a low magic, because witchcraft, honestly, you don't need tools. It's just working with energy, understanding energy, feeling energy, and being able to manipulate energy. Ceremonial magic, on the other hand, is like Aleister Crowley type shit, and more advanced, like see where you see the magician in the circle with the apprentice trying to summon a spirit through the fucking... That's ceremonial magic. Much different. Anyway, this is Collab 13. And there's a review up on my locals. I usually talk about cannabis, by the way. Typically aren't on here ranting about religious spirituality stuff. I thought it would be a fun discussion. Damn. That one hit. A little bit less water. Getting a little bit of backwash on it. This is GMO, genetically modified organism. You know, the strain that scared the shit out of the market in the early mid-2000s. If you didn't know, GMO, when it first came onto the market, at least there was rumor, that it was not heavily accepted onto dispensary shelves because, if you remember, if you're old enough, back at that time, there was like a big scare. It was like, oh my God, our apples are too big and they're genetically modified. Oh, the genetically modified oranges and bananas. But if our bananas weren't, then we would have a bunch of fucking seeds and they'd be about this big. But there was a big thing like that. And because they called the strain GMO, because it's fucking really different smelling, like garlic and rank, they didn't want to put it on the shelf. Hence the dual name, garlic cookies. Interesting stoner nomenclature story. Stoner nomenclature. So my plant today, I fed her, I gave her some more bone meal because I noticed my pH dropped down a little bit lower, which is good because it was at like 6.9, 6.8. So as long as it doesn't continue to keep dropping down, that would suck. Like the acidifier didn't start working until like later, and then just keep dropping and dropping, and I have to try to fucking flip it. But I hope that don't happen. But I think we're good. But I added bone meal to it because bone meal, if you didn't know, don't add bone meal into your pot plant if you're not under 7. I learned that recently too. It doesn't do shit. Like you just basically making it more alkaline by adding the bone meal if it's not acidic enough for the bone meal to activate. I mean, I presume bone meal would make it more alkaline, right? It is organic, technically, right? Yeah. But when I think of bone, I just think alkalinity intuitively. I don't know why. Boy. And I swear to God, I still have not smoked on that papaya cake since it did that weird shit the other night. Like, that freaked me out, man. I've smoked enough weird things in my life, in my youth, that I probably shouldn't have smoked. And no, not stupid shit. I just mean, like, weed that was really shitty. And, like, one time we had some stuff that people told us was opium and hash. And I've had opium one other time, and it really did kind of taste like opium. But it didn't do anything at all to us. Like, nothing. And we smoked it, right? Like, so it's sort of like keef or hash. You, like, dab your lighter to it. You don't fucking torch it. Otherwise, it's pointless. Just get a cherry rolling. And the cherry activates things around it. Try not to cough my fucking lungs out on this one. My pearl was glued to the bottom. I don't know why it is so hot right here in this one spot. I sit down, maybe it's the dabs. It's getting fucking crazy dab sweat. Like, seriously, look at my forehead, man. I ain't even kidding. Like, sweating. By the way, the chat in the Rumble should be working. It worked for my girlfriend the other week. So, I thought that chat in the other places, like if you typed on Facebook or Locals or anywhere, it would come through on here. But I'm not positive yet because nobody really chats. That's okay though. I don't mind. Although if you see me forgetting what I'm talking about, I would greatly appreciate. I'll even shout you out for being my helper. I need somebody to get in the chat and be like, you can even make it funny or like, I don't know, make fun of me when you do it or whatever. But I forget what I'm talking about in the middle of my sentence a fucking lot. And it feeds the trolls because it makes me seem like, one, I'm either making it up and I can't remember what I'm talking about, or blah, 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 blah. And that's not the case. I just really actually forgot what I'm talking about because marijuana affects the memory. So, yeah, be like, hey, you were saying, because it's always like a tip of the tongue phenomenon. It's not like I forget it totally. It's like, it's right there. I just can't reach it. My brain's like, nah, not right now. That's why I couldn't smoke weed and do math in college, seriously. When I got to statistics in college, I had to quit smoking weed, and when I went to math class, I'd fuck all kinds of stuff up. but I like math. I like learning. Yes, indeed, I do. Probably why I have probably $15,000 in loans for fucking classes that I didn't even need for the major I was going for. Like African music theory. Or, well, it was technically world music theory, but the professor was like African crazy. He was a big, white, fat white guy. But he was like hardcore on African music because it's so much different than Western, like the Western concept of beat, rhythm, and music. African is way, way, way different. Like the tradition, like your Western ear, the normal person's Western ear, it just sounds like noise. And that's not being racist or mean. That our ear just picks that up. It's just noise. You have to really listen to it for a while before you can actually hear what they're doing and hear the meshing together of everything. And it's always real like obscure rhythms and stuff like buh, 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 buh. Like stuff that doesn't even make sense. It's just random, it seems. But a lot of it's mimicking nature and it's interesting. Anyway, have a good evening, people. Take it easy.